Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Keeping the Faith with Faith. And today I just wanted to talk about um, the story that has been making the rounds on the internet of the the Fairfax tragedy. What happened to the Fairfax family, the tragedy that has happened over there. It's international news, but I honestly can relate to the story. I am very hurt by the story. I was very triggered, and I felt like, let me just put it out there and talk about why this has triggered me so much. And honestly, condolences to the Fairfax family. Condolences to that family. The people that I really feel for are the kids, those children. May God be with them. May God really be with them, because I don't know, how does one make it through such a thing? Domestic violence is all over. We can all relate to it, either directly or indirectly. And when I say that family could have been my family, it's because I grew up in a home where there was domestic violence. And it had gotten so bad at some point that you know my mom was advised to get a divorce. But it only occurs to me now why she actually didn't want a divorce. She feared for her life. She feared for our lives as the children at the time. I was a teenager, and that's why I'm saying I feel for the kids, because they're teenagers. And at the time where things had really gotten very bad in my household, I was a teenager too. I was very lost. I was so confused. I was hurting and I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't reach out to anybody. I was so ashamed. I carried a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. At some point, it felt like everything that was happening in my home was my fault, and there was just a lot happening, man, you know. And I remember there was a time where my mom said, she could almost sense that my dad was going to unalive her. So what she did was hide his gun. He had a gun. So she said she just felt it in her intuition that, she needs to take action about this gun. And she took it and hid it. Till this day, we don't know where exactly she hid it. But that's what happened. And, you know, my dad obviously kept asking about the gun, and he became so violent. And most of our days are filled with drama and just fights and arguments and plates being thrown around and things just getting destroyed, people fight. You can just hear commotion in the bedroom, and it's going down. Your dad is. My dad at some point beat my mom so bad that she had this blue eye, and it really hurt me, as a kid at the time. And imagine carrying all that shame, because I remember all that I could feel at the time was shame, that my mom has a blue eye, or I'm that kid that now my dad is now, an abuser, and I was so close with my father. I saw my father as like some type of hero, but now that he was literally an abuser, I didn't know how to feel about him anymore. And I was just in a space of confusion. And as I said, at the time when my mom was being advised to get a divorce, she didn't want to get a divorce. She obviously had her own fears about, assets and things like that, and about us, where we were going to live. Are we going to have a roof over our heads? And things like that, just monetary wise, are we going to be financially okay if this divorce has to happen? And For me at the time, I was very angry. I was wondering, why is this woman putting our lives at risk? You know, we're clearly not safe in the house. We're not safe in our own home. She's not making the decision. This man is just making her life a living hell. He's making our lives a living hell. Why doesn't she just walk away? And, things went on like that up until obviously her hiding the gun. And at some point, I think there came a point where there was a breakthrough where my dad received a lump sum of money. I think it was his pension funds. And from there, he could have space to just go and find himself. So he left us, he left the house. And from there, we could honestly breathe again. We felt like it was some sort of relief him not being in the house. As long as he's not in the house, we were safe. And it went on that he eventually went to file for divorce from my mom. But I commend my mom for at least being proactive in protecting herself and protecting us, even if it wasn't all that she could have done, but she did something. She did something to protect us. Hearing all these stories is really triggering people, it's really triggering us. And I think we just need to have those honest conversations. We need to put it out there that, yes, we've been affected by these things, and there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of, And I just feel that the more you talk about something and put it out there, the lesser power it has. Like, you are just stripping it of its power. So I feel that these past few weeks have really been so draining to me, to my spirit. I could honestly see myself sinking, and I couldn't get out of that dark place because it has taken me back to those times that, that I saw all of this happening around me as a child. And I feel for those families, all those families that have lost their loved ones through gender based violence. I feel for them, and it's a lot, guys. Even here in South Africa, there's many stories. We have seen women getting gunned down. We're not reaching a breakthrough with this thing of gender based violence. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And it's a lot. It's a lot. If you're in a marriage that's not working out, where you are constantly being beaten and battered and threatened and all these things, get out. Get out before it's too late. Get out before it's too late. Because I believe that those women, they saw the signs. They knew what was coming. They knew the people that they were with, what kind of people that they were. Maybe they trusted in the system, they trusted that the law could protect them. Look what happened. It's time that we chose ourselves. It's time that we chose ourselves. If something is happening right now that is triggering you, that is making you to revisit that pain that you thought you were over, but somehow you're not over it. And now things are just spiraling down. Things are just coming down because you are revisiting pain. And obviously, it's in the media. You can't avoid it. I didn't even want to look at the story of the Fairfax family, but I just found myself to say, let me just go there. I can't avoid certain topics forever, especially gender based violence. I never want to talk about that subject because I feel that it triggers me, you know? It triggers me, it brings on something in me, and I'm like, I'm not gonna talk about this. But I felt like today is the day where I'm like, I take back my power. I take back my power. I honestly told myself that I'm not gonna allow that pain to now destroy me. It's pain, it was there. I acknowledged it. As long as I've acknowledged it, that at some point it really did hurt me. And when I hear about the issues like this, it still continues to be like, remember that time that it was almost you guys. It was almost you guys being that statistic of the father in the house killing the entire family or unaliving himself and my mom. But there's nothing I can do about it now. It's things that have happened in my past. And, but it will always be part of my story. It will always be part of where I come from. And I always need to acknowledge it, that it is what it is. It happened, but now we need to move on. We need to move forward. I can't keep rehearsing painful things that have happened in my past and want to bring them into my now reality. I just need to be proactive in protecting myself because it's a wild, wild west out there. All we can do is protect ourselves. Have a good one, and remember to keep the faith.